Hello one and all, and welcome to another episode of The Vault, the gaming podcast where we take some of the greatest games of all time and have a good old chat about them. So in today's ep, we're going back into the world of virtual reality.
Vault VR.
And what game are we on?
Blood and Truth.
Blood and Truth VR.
Indeed.
By London Studio.
Is that actually what it's called? Blood and Truth VR?
No, I always say Blood and Truth VR. I don't know why. It's just Blood and Truth.
I mean, it is in VR famously, so yeah. Fair
VR
comment.
only. So, yeah, major spoiler warning. Because this is going to be an in-depth chat about this game.
Okay.
So you've been warned.
Yeah.
So the overall plot, just to Craig David fill you in, you play as Ryan Marks, a former Special Forces soldier whose family is entangled with London's crime underworld. So Ryan comes home from the war and to attend his dad's business after his dad's suddenly passed away.
Yeah.
And then you get involved with, a lot of shit, basically. So my initial thoughts before this, because we need to just kind of go back to go forward, I think.
Yeah.
So on VR Worlds, which you've talked about before, and we loved it we spoke about
London
it
Heist.
in a lot of detail.
Yeah.
The London Heist, which was by the same studio. So there were big expectations, I felt, to Blood and Truth going in.
Yeah, definitely.
But I didn't want to research too much about it, as I kind of wanted just to sort of leave it.
I feel like not a lot really
surprise.
got that. Like, it was quite quiet for a long time, and then all of a sudden it was like, it's here. So
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to sort of take everything in. And that first playthrough, I knew the expected genre, obviously.
yeah.
There was a little cheeky nod to sort of the first game in there.
Well, all the little secrets are like little nods, aren't they?
Yeah, to sort of VR words, like you can pick up one with the shark and Serena with the diamond,
And then
all
it plays
of that.
like the London Heist little soundtrack in the background. That
Yeah.
Thing.
So that was great. So first impressions, because obviously we do have to say, it's not a dig because I understand this fully. You didn't get round to playing the full thing.
Yeah, I need to talk about my cop-outness.
Yeah, you can say that. I think it's a fair thing. I wouldn't say it's a cop-out. I think it's a very fair situation.
I think so. It's difficult because I get with VR games, I'm fine if you're stationary. It's like with Beat Saber or London Heist. When you're just standing still and you're moving around in the sense of just with your hands and you're just looking, I'm fine. Like, I can stay in VR for, obviously it's not advised, but I can stay in VR for a little while. Whereas when you have, when you walk in VR, that can really mess me up. Like, it's okay at first, but it does get me very motion sick, even when I'm just sitting down playing it. So I find that as much as I really like how when you're moving through like a building site and you're doing all the shooting and you're like going over these like ledges and all this sort of stuff, so cool in VR. I can't like fault it. It's such a cool experience. But at the same time, I get this. I can only. Well, I mean, I guess everyone gets it. But yeah, motion sickness where it's like you feel something almost like kind of in your throat,
and
then there's like a weird like pain at the front of your head, and you just start to think like I need to like just get out of it. So
which is a shame. But
it's a shame because it happened pretty much after any of the longer action sequences.
Yeah.
Like when you're in the shooting gallery, I'd be fine. Because obviously you move left to right, but you're not always moving. I think that's the combination. If I was really slow, then it's not too bad. I mean, my way of getting over it at the first point was by actually pretending I was walking, which looked hilarious.
You were walking like a right idiot, though. You were sort of doing this,
I think as long as because it felt like. Yeah, I mean, I was definitely over-exaggerating it, but it was just like, if I felt like I was like shifting from side to side, it made me feel like I was actually walking, and it did help a little bit at the start.
We'll go into sort of controls and all that stuff anyway, but we just sort of want to say it as a disclaimer. I've played the full thing.
Yeah, I played the first the first two. Well, no, I played the complete first half. I did get through the first half completely. And then the second half, I just did some of the like major set points and stuff,
which we will get to.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that right now
because I didn't really want to tempt fate by going back into it, and like I will probably play them at some point, but I have to like play them in like little tiny sections because it's difficult. Because even if I play VR and I get motion sick, the next day I get the same heady feeling again, like it comes back a bit later, so I can't like just jump back in.
So yeah, as another disclaimer, I would say if you do suffer with like motion sickness and stuff,
Play it for like max 20 minutes and then come out.
yeah,
of it.
just either dip in and out or just. I'll try it, but I would say this game is best to be played seated and not stood up.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it will fuck you up.
I also want to say as well, that's not like a dig
No.
at this game at all, because I think it's phenomenal, but it's just, I think, my experience with VR, and I think everyone has different ways of
Absolutely.
like handling it. But yeah, it's a shame because I've got so many like VR games where you have to move, and I can only play them for like a quarter of an hour, and I'm like, I need to get out.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
think
a shame,
there's a lot of
because it's
people
like it
who
just
suffer
takes
with
you out.
that, which
So,
is a shame. But
yeah.
you know, I'm glad that you did get to experience some of it. So we'll go into sort of like first impressions and stuff like that. So going in, I was really excited because I was like, oh my god, we're going to get more of
Of what we got
the
from
London Heist.
London Heist, yeah.
And all of that. So just be aware as well, you do not have free roam in this game. You do not have free movement. I think there's a lot of people that I've seen make stupid comments like, oh, this game's shit, you can't even move freely. I'm like, in what world do you think you would be able to move freely? Because where we're at with the VR, especially with PlayStation, it's at a price point where, yeah, it seems very pricey, but I think for the kit that you actually obtain,
Yeah.
it's a good price point.
Yeah.
Games are coming down, they're great to get off the PS Store,
Yeah.
especially if you're in a sale. And I think that it's obviously easy to make that comment because you would like free roam, but the size of the room that we're in right now is very small. So I think it's a bit silly to think that you'll be able to go around.
Do you
and
mean
have
free roam in the sense of like you can just wander around like you
Just
can in
walking
Firewatch?
around.
Is it not Firewatch? Firepoint.
I haven't played that, so I can't really say.
Yeah, so that's like free roam where you move, but then you have, because you're using the move
No, but what I mean
controllers-
free roam in the sense of I don't know whether they think that they should be walking physically around.
Well, I don't think you can do that.
No, you can't. That's what I'm saying. But I don't know whether people think when they think VR, it's like you've got this box on your head and you can just do what you want.
I think they mean in the sense of like, you know how with the VR gun you've got the two little analog sticks.
Okay.
So being able to, because obviously you move to
maybe
a
I
set,
just misconstrued that
you move
point.
to a set point, don't you, in a set cover in Blood and Truth. Maybe it's that, but again, I think that's a stupid gripe to have. It doesn't really take anything away from it.
No, I think when I sort of looked at this on the whole, and because again, I didn't want to look into too much about it because I just wanted to enjoy it. But it's just, I will say this now and I'll go into why. It is one of my favourite games of all time. And that's quite a bold thing
Big
to
words,
say.
yeah.
For me.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, that's fine.
But yeah, so sort of you go in, you put the set on, and immediately I'm in. Because I know we've spoken about this in our soundtracks episode, but the soundtrack by Joe Thwaites, Jim Fowler and Z Dot, and countless others, just starts off building. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 and it's just, oh my god, it's the best.
For me, that kind of,
It just,
I don't know how to...
It just encompasses the whole mood of the game, the tone of the game.
Yeah, it's...
From the get-go.
I can never find, like, I always try to look for, I'm just going to do a quick comparison, right? There's this very
We have time,
specific
say what you want.
sound with, like, I feel like, particularly like Bond and Mission Impossible, they kind of have a very specific sounding music.
Yeah.
That's very espionage, and it was just associated with like spies now, which this game has. And the only thing I can think of, there was like a Fortnite soundtrack that I heard that had that same kind of brass in it,
Right.
but I can't think what like it's called to look for it on YouTube or anything, because I love that sound of music.
I think they've really hit the nail on the head with this because, again, I know I said it in another podcast, but it sounds like it's just been literally tugged from a massive,
movie.
big budget Hollywood film.
Yeah.
It was recorded at Abbey Road Studios, sort of 70 to 80 piece orchestra.
Yeah, which is pretty mad.
So there's a lot of grime with orchestral overlays, elements of sort of a larger scale. So, it could easily run alongside sort of those James Bond scores. And it's something, like I said before, you could pull it out of like a Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah, definitely.
And have it in that. But then you've got these tones of, when there are the sadder scenes. And obviously now I can say it because we've said about spoilers.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Blood and Truth as a whole game now. So basically, as the game goes on, you've just finished this massive shootout through sort of like a back street. Then you go up like a tower block, and you're in this derelict tower block that's set for demolition, basically. Yeah. And you've just rescued your mom, who's been captured by Tony and his goons, because Ryan is sort of pushing back, isn't he, against Tony? Because at the start of it, Ryan kills Tony's brother, Keach. So I think Tony and Keach were trying to like push the Marx brothers, and they're like, "No, we're not that sort of family."
Yeah.
So they've sort of gone after them. So obviously now that they've learnt that, they've captured the mom. And you go down after you've finished this massive ordeal, you've rescued your mom, you've got out of this building literally by the skin of your teeth because it's collapsing, and you have to get into this shipment container.
Yeah, this massive, like this insane bit where you're running through this building and this crane comes crashing through the side of the building, and then it like crashes out the end, and you jump, and then you're flying through the air, and then you have to grab onto this shipment container, and it's like, damn, it's so
I think
mad.
that's the thing, because you think, when I'm in VR, and this is probably the most immersive experience I've ever had in VR.
Yeah,
where
there's so
I'm
much
actually
interactivity.
where I'm actually thinking, fucking hell, I'm doing this, and I know I'm sat down, and I know but I'm like, fuck, this crane just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
but we'll get to that. That's my point. So then, unfortunately, Ryan's mom gets murdered in front of his eyes.
Yeah.
And then these sort of really somber strings play.
Yeah.
And you still have these elements of the theme, but then you think, fuck, it's the game in both senses has changed now.
Yeah.
Like now it's getting to the point where you're starting to off the Marx family.
Yeah.
And then it gets more full on and more full on as it goes on. You have other tracks that feature, so again, you've got some like classic garage anthems like Boo, Sticky feature Miss Dynamite.
Yeah.
Then you've got a lot of sort of Z-Dot produced stuff, and with features, and you've got like JME on there as well. I know I've said that before. To me, it's like a key highlight, and it's one of those things that I take away fondly from that experience is the soundtrack, because it's so atmospheric.
Yeah.
And then you have these moments of respite when you're in the museum,
and
you can grab these like, there's no other way to describe it.
Balls.
Colourful balls.
Yeah.
And you control sort of beats and lighting and volume with them.
Yeah.
And then this is later on, I think, isn't it, when you're just in a DJ booth? Is that the same section? I can't remember.
Isn't that before the casino bit?
It's in the casino.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then again,
and it lets you just mess around with like all the buttons and type things.
Sake, yeah.
Fucking air horns.
It's just that mix of sort of score and other genres. I think there's a really good video about the music of it on YouTube, and they have interviews, and I found a couple of good podcasts where they've interviewed Joe and Jim about sort of the takeaways from it. And I think the game, and they've said this as well, it's such a love letter to London, and you can definitely see that when you play it. So obviously they can't use everything,
no,
but even just sort of, I think there's a lot of things that I play that are so American and very Americanized. So when I'm playing this and I'm like, oh my god, there's our road signs, or
same.
You know, there's the Shard, or
I will just have to quickly say, the absolute nerd skyline skyscraper geek in me. I was so impressed. There's this bit near the start where you're in their like business apartment place, and they overlook from like the south bank of the Thames, and their view is over. You can see like Tower Bridge. And I was so impressed with the fact that they got loads of skyscrapers in there that were under construction at the time, that it's like, it is exactly the same as what London is. So like you can see the Gherkin, and I think it's the Scalpel, the cheese grater, and all these like big skyscrapers that I know of because I've always been interested in like architecture and stuff. And when I saw them all there, it was like, wow, a game's actually put them all in there how they are. And I just thought that was such a cool detail to do. Yeah.
So when you start the game, you're sort of being briefed by Agent Carson, who is played by
Colin Salmon. He's come up twice in this bloody series.
Known for Bank Job, Resident Evil, James Bond, loads. He's, a very well-known British actor, and a bloody great one at the same time. I always thought he was American, though, because his American accent is amazing.
Yes.
So then, basically, you have a flashback of Afghanistan when you're as a soldier, it serves as your tutorial, so you'll get used to sort of like strafing left and right, forward. And this is where I really struggled at first with the movement, because I was like, shit, it's like you're moving quite quick. So obviously you'll look down, you've got 2 holsters that you can put handguns in, and then on the back you'll have your sort of SMGs and larger weapons, which took me a while to sort of get that motion. I didn't realise, because you play with the Move controllers.
They vibrate when you need to click.
Yes, I didn't realise that at first. I kept
them.
shooting pretty much the back of my leg, because I was like, I need to get them in there. But then, you know, it gets easier. So the movement, I think, is pretty easy, apart from that holstering to start with. What was your sort of vibe on, you know, combat and all of that sort of thing?
I mean, just pulling off all the shots, and that's really satisfying. I love just walking around with like 2 pistols. Again, my inner Lara Croft is coming out when I grab 2 guns.
I know, I used to hold them and like hold them up.
The only problem is when you have to reload, when you've got 2 guns in your hand, because you reload with like, you basically grab magazines off your chest in like a little pouch, and then you just like basically aim them towards where the chamber in the pistol or whatever, and then it will just like automatically like slide into place. But when you've got 2 guns, you have to remember to do that both times. And I would always just get panicked and fluffed when you're getting shot to shit and there's like grenades being thrown at you, and having to reload. But when you've got like full magazines and you just go like Rambo, I thought, yeah, that's
there
really
are
cool.
many cool combat things that you can do.
I think strafing left to right is the main thing I struggle with movement. I have to be looking in the direction I'm travelling. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just going to topple over to the side.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
I think you have got this, obviously on the Move control, you've got, I would say, the main button in the middle on the front. If you press those 2 at the same time, at any point in the game, you will immediately go into slow-mo motion. So then you can off headshots a little bit easier. You've got a little bit more time to sort of think and strategize in a way.
Yeah. Or if you're like me, you play it on cinematic mode and you get nice lasers to help you shoot.
Yeah, so you can play assisted or not. I didn't play assisted, if I remember right. I don't think I did. I might have done it at the start.
I don't think you did.
I don't think I did.
No, because you struggled with the actual other bits where I didn't struggle, which that explains that, yeah, it was bloody hard.
But again, I'm just really stubborn, aren't I? I'm like, I'm going to fucking just play this on normal.
Yeah, I just, I've committed now to the life of, I don't want to play on normal or hard.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
So you go through these different phases. So you'll have ones where you'll have to take cover, strafe left, right, and you can obviously duck down and make that a little bit easier for yourself anyway. But there are other points, especially when you're moving through like the flats, or when you're through the casino in certain parts, when you're constantly moving and you're on this sort of conveyor of just shooting all these enemies. When
it's really fast paced.
As you're trying to get to Keach. So the one that stands out the most is when you're in the Fortuna Hotel and Casino.
Yeah.
And you're trying to plant detonators on the casino tables and stuff like that. Or you're
planting bombs on each of the tables, aren't you?
So another cool thing that you have is you have a little toolkit with you.
Love the little toolkit.
The toolkit is like a highlight for me as well.
So satisfying.
Because when you're playing as Ryan, and this is for me, I was sort of like, when I'm getting like bollocked and briefed by Agent Carson, I'm like, okay. And I'm sat there with like an attitude because I'm like, he's telling me off again. And sort of like when I'm doing these tasks, I feel like I'm doing these tasks. Like, this is what I mean. Like when I play other games in VR, I know that I'm very aware that I'm just this character and I'm just getting from A to B. But when I'm playing as Ryan, I am Ryan.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm all the way in. So it's like you get your little toolkit out and you'll have to like set bombs off and then use your lighter to spark them up, or you'll have a lockpick.
I like the lockpick.
So you have to sort of, use the moves, and then you'll have one in each hand. So you'll move what are they called? The pins. And then you'll have to like strike
you jolt them into position.
Yeah, so you see like a little...
I will say just
diagram.
The little toolkit, like having... It's so satisfying when you come up to a little panel and it's got some screws on it. So you go and get your little screwdriver and you unscrew each little screw and then you pull the little panel off. Mm-hmm. And then you'll go and get your pliers and you'll nip some little cables and stuff. And then there'll be something in the middle that you have to like blow up with one of these like little charges that you have. And you can strike that with your, like, you've got a Zippo lighter. So I love that you can just flick it open with like a jolt of the Move controller. I think that's really cool, like that sort of movement.
I think as well, you have a lot... I'm just going to quickly tap back to the Afghanistan start.
Yeah, no, go for it.
You meet your friend Deacon, you've got to rescue Deacon.
Because he's been
captured. And then you get out and you have this immense car.
Oh, you have the chase across the rooftops, don't you?
You have the chase across the rooftops, and then you have a
people.
car chase where you're shooting everyone. And one of my favourite old school
it's on the radio,
dance songs is on the radio. It's Tim Deluxe, It Just Won't Do. So I've banged that up, and Deacon's like moving out of my way as I'm shooting.
Yeah. The helicopters flying over and stuff.
It's literally, even though it's like technically a tutorial, it's so you as soon as you start, you're like, fucking hell, this is real. Like, I'm in it.
Yeah.
And that was really, really interesting. And you have like a really good camaraderie between yourself and Deacon.
Yeah.
And obviously you see him later on in the game. What I did like as well, there's a lot of jargon that gets used, especially in that moment where they're having a chat about how they're going to kind of get out of this situation. But it's not really that explained to you. They haven't really dumbed anything down. And I know that this is obviously to do with this game or whatever, but it's like, when you watch something like Mr. Robot, they're not really there to explain everything to you. They're telling you it factually, sort of thing. So I did like that, and it sort of helped me with more immersion in battle, because I was like, I don't know what they're talking about, but I feel like I'm in the army.
Yeah.
I'm in. But yeah, I don't know how you sort of felt about those sort of relationships early on or whatever.
Yeah, well, that whole section was just awesome to me. That was my main takeaway from when you're running across the rooftops and then you jump into the back of the car and then you jump down and grab and get inside, and
I think that's the thing as
all
well.
the shooting and stuff with that music was just well funny. It was like
it was
such
crazy.
a cool.
Because again,
intro.
You've got so much sort of interactivity with the car. Like, you can put the hazards on, you can open glove boxes, lean out the window, open the door. And I think that's the beauty of a lot of VR stuff, especially with this game. There's a lot of stuff that you can try, and you think, oh, I bet I won't be able to do that, or I bet I can't like click that or do this or open that, and 9 times out of 10 you can. Yeah.
I like all the little hand gestures you can do just by hitting, I think it's a circle,
Yeah.
I'm not sure on the controller because you can't see them at the time, but
it's like thumbs up, you can swear.
And then like spinning the guns around, the pistols around on your finger, that's so satisfying to do.
And you'll pick up vape pens and stuff, so you can drag them and sort of suck in and blow out, and you'll see the smoke. Same with the cigars.
Yeah.
There's just so many... There's a lot of things to sort of explore in this. One of my favourite things is the grenades. So you can pull out the linchpin with your teeth. So if you bring it up to your mouth or like towards the bottom of the VR, you can pull the linchpin out with your teeth and sort of throw the grenade.
Yeah, and you can throw enemies' grenades back at them as well.
Yeah, so if you catch them well enough, then you can just chuck them back before they blow. So
Which
it
is
sort of like
cool.
bites them in the arse.
Yeah.
You can also toss a mag in the air and catch it in the gun.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's so cool.
So you can do it, but I'm not that sort of good. There's just so many things to play around with. So if you are gonna play it, just have a little mess around. It's really fun to sort of do.
Yeah. Even just reloading like the sawn-off shotguns, like when the shells pop out and you'll flick them in, and then you can just flick the barrels back up with a jolt of the controller, like you could in real life. And
I think that's the thing. It's obviously there is that sort of sense of hand-holdy gameplay in terms of like strafing and cover and stuff, because I think with the constraints of the VR, you have to have a hand with that. But then I feel like, with like reloading in and you're panicking, you're like, shit, I've got to get these shots in or whatever, I'm being hit.
Yeah.
And you've got the shotgun, but obviously it's got 2 shots and you're going to have to keep just banging these shells in.
Yeah.
So you are sort of keep going on with that. So obviously after, just to sort of move on with the story a little bit, so Ryan goes back to London after his father's death. So there's an ace scene on the plane, sort of, and flashes of other pieces as the credits sort of appear. So the next minute you're sort of sat in a plane watching the map in front of you and looking out the window at the clouds and all of these other really cool stuff. And then this is where sort of Nick is introduced, Ryan's brother, because he picks him up at the airport.
Oh yeah, of course he does.
Oh, just to actually mention first, Ryan Marks is actually played by, I have his name here, Felix Scott.
Yeah.
Who does a great job. Obviously, you don't see him, though.
The acting in this is really good.
The acting's amazing. And then you have Jay Taylor playing Nick, who is his brother, and they have a really fun relationship as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a really fun fact. I thought it was a fun fact.
Okay.
I believe, this might not be real, but I know that there is a tape on Jay's YouTube channel that he auditioned or was going to audition for the role of Elliot in Mr. Robot.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
So there's a audition tape on there. So whether that got submitted, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was fun to see sort of those lines. I think it's in it's in the pilot of Mr. Robot. And it's sort of fun to sort of see Jay's take on.
No, cool.
On that role. But yeah, I sort of really enjoyed their relationship.
Yeah.
especially in the car, sort of like laughing and joking. And
It feels very natural.
yeah. And then obviously when you get to the offices, you meet Michelle, which is their sister,
Yeah.
and their mum, Anna.
I feel like their faces in this are very expressive, and you can really read their expression quite
I feel
well
like for
a
VR, yeah, it's quite clear.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, sometimes I watch the playthroughs again just because I love watching the story. And when you watch the capture's really clear. Obviously, I know it's not as clear when you're in it, but then I feel like you can really get in their face and sort of get involved
I found
with
that
them.
you could read more on documents and stuff in this game when you got close to them.
Yeah, I felt like this was the clearest experience in VR I actually had.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not being paid to talk about this.
No.
I always feel like I should say a disclaimer when all of us are pretty much positive.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, it's not a sponsor, I'm just really happy.
I'd just rather talk about the things that we like.
Yeah, so things tend to go from bad to worse as the Marks family get a visit from Anthony Sharp, so Tony, who wants the Marks family business, which is far from above board, really. So I think there was a lot of dealings with the dad, and sort of Tony wants to sort of take over.
Yeah.
Which obviously isn't the case. So it's only sort of described as a network. So it's, you know, I've written some notes. It says basically the Sharps organisation and the Markses. My takeaway was that the brothers Sharp want to rule London, and the dad was the one who was standing in their way initially. And I do have some thoughts about Tony's final speech, which I will go into towards the end.
Yeah.
But again, that's not really overly... I think there's a lot of things that, unless I was just being really thick, I feel like there's things that aren't overly explained to you.
No.
But I feel like in that world, everyone talks in riddles anyway, don't they?
Kind of, yeah.
So basically, there's a bit of a shootout in the offices, and then, yeah, it all kicks off, really.
It does boot off big time.
This is when sort of Amanda Kincaid,
Yeah.
is introduced as she kills one of Mark's security team. So that's sort of a pivotal plot point for everything to kind of kick off then between this sort of war amongst these families.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't really want to go into the full story because I feel like it will just be that podcast where we just end up talking about the story from A to Z.
Just reciting the story, yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about setting, first of all, which is obviously in London.
Famously.
What were your sort of like... How did you feel when you saw the details in those?
Well, I mean, I kind of already said with that first initial part when you look over London, and I was like, that's just an actual screenshot of London. They didn't, you know, they went to and actually got a proper... I mean, they are a London studio, so there'll probably be that bit, you know, that much more
I think
meticulous, but I do like the whole London setting. I did in the London Heist, so to be back in that zone... Because I really like Lock, Stock and Snatch, and it feels very much like those films.
Yeah, I mean, they described the game as sort of a love letter to classic Cockney gangster movies and London itself. I think London seems to be its own character in this game as well.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's like we said,
I also like how big the game is in the sense of its set pieces and stuff are like out of a big action film, and really like they do their best to put you in them as best as possible. And like let you have control. Yeah,
I agree. And I think that's the thing when you have things like precision mode, which is when you go into sort of slow-mo mode.
Yeah.
It just makes me think that I am in a movie.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's really cool because you're just so immersed in it, and it's so impressive with everything that sort of goes on. It's just mental. Like I honestly don't think it's that easy to. Obviously, we can sit here and talk about it all day, but I think until you actually play it, I don't think you really realise
how
it is. Because I remember when I did, you know, we'll talk about set pieces, sort of, I guess it's a good segue into it.
Well, I'll just quickly mention as well, I like that this seemed to be the first game, obviously there's been shooters and stuff in VR, but the fact that you can move around the environment how you would in most games. So if you come across a ladder, you have to actually climb up the ladder, and if you come across like... when you're in that construction site, you're climbing on scaffolding and making your way, like climbing around it, and you're up really, really high, and then you're climbing on like bits of rebar and through windows and stuff, and you can, while you're hanging on, you can grab a gun out of your holster and shoot someone while you're hanging off something as well. So I just love all that kind of those sorts of bits as well.
Because obviously when you're in like the casino, you've got to work your way through and up because you need to get the surveillance rooms.
Yeah.
Also in this, you'll be able to sort of get unlockables by shooting targets on the walls.
Yeah.
So as you're passing through like shooting areas, if you see one, make sure you try and hit that.
Yeah, because at the end of some of the like long shooting parts, there's usually a section where basically the character starts running, and it's kind of like a rails shooter where the character will be running in a set direction. You don't have to control where you're moving to, because the character already knows where they're running to, and you'll just be running through rooms and like through doors and windows and stuff, and you just have to shoot what's coming at you. But I like that they didn't make it so that you ran too fast.
No.
They slowed it down, I think, for the purpose of the motion sickness kind of thing, because that can mess you up a bit. But there's that one bit, I think it's at the end of the casino, where you run down a corridor, smash out of a window, and you have to grab a sign in front of you, and that's
crazy.
the first like set pointy kind of bit where you're like, did that actually just happen? And then you've got to like shimmy away through.
Down a sign, haven't you?
Yeah, and then you climb, do a whole Die Hard bit where you get into a vent and crawl through the vent into this like other office, and yeah, just love doing all that sort of stuff.
It is
VR.
mental. Like as you go, obviously progress through the game, you'll get different weapon pickups and ammo pickups, and stuff like that. Or you'll find little unlockables or whatever.
Yeah,
it's just mental. So you've just got car chases and.
Yeah, the car chases are very similar to how that one is in the London Heist, where you can just sort of sit there and open the doors and sort of lean out, look behind you and shoot.
But they are relentless, some of them.
They can be pretty difficult.
But that's what I kind of like. I don't like the fact that it's always that easy. I mean, I know when you even unassisted, it's still tough. Like you still feel like fucking hell. Like where are all these people coming from?
Yeah.
And then you sort of.
It's funny how you resort to like. I always try to be as kind of by the book with the guns as possible. So if I'm holding an assault rifle, I like to be holding the grip on the front. When I was in those car chases, I just ended up holding it at arm's length in one hand, holding an AK-47. I don't think you'd be able to do it. The kick would be putting you all over the place.
But then obviously, like the good thing with the move is, even though you look like an idiot in real life, like in the game, you can hold it how you would hold a rifle or an SMG or whatever.
And you can look down the sights and everything.
Yeah, and then when you're reloading or when you're walking around like you're holding these things how you potentially would in real life.
Yeah. One of the most satisfying guns to use was the pump action shotgun, because you had to pump it each time you shot, which was awesome. Yeah,
that bit I struggled with. There's a bit in a van.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I did that bit.
No, you didn't do that bit. It's really fucking hard because your doors keep coming off and there's nowhere for you to cover, really.
No.
Because you have enemies from every angle. But I think that's the thing. There's so many takeaways for me from this game. Like, even when you're in the museum with Nick and you're breaking into Tony's museum.
Yeah.
Then you can, like, deface his artwork.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Tear down some of his sculptures that he's got.
There's like a callback, and the only thing I can think of is in the Mummy films. They did it twice, where you go into the art museum in this, and you like there's all these like shapes stacked on top of each other around the room in these like big pillars almost, and you break one down and it starts knocking them down like dominoes. And it just made me think of the Mummy, where like I think it's Evie knocks down all the bookcases in the library and they all knock down, or like in The Mummy Returns all the pillars fall down. It's just like that's one of those stupid little like
I think
things.
As well, like Nick and Ryan are so lovable. They're like, oops, when they like knock everything down.
Yeah, it looks better now anyway.
yeah. Or they're just doing very naughty things.
Yeah.
But then you'll be breaking into like safes and stuff and trying to get passcodes for doors and all of that sort of thing.
I will say in the art gallery there's a very horror-y part that I really didn't like.
I didn't like this
You go into this room that's completely pitch black, and there's like 3 mannequins lit up with like they're holding phones, and they're only lit up their faces by like the phone light. So you approach them and then the light goes out, and then your brother will like jump scare you, or the mannequins will like change around you or something. It's proper creepy.
Yeah, I had to have my head down for that because
I had to keep. I kept squinting. I was just squinting throughout the whole thing, and it was like I don't want to see what's happening.
Yeah, and then you go into the really cool like other room.
There's the big gun, the paint gun, where you get to face that big picture of that big painting of Tony.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And then you have that. I call it the octopus room, and it's like. It's like a walk. It's a walkway, isn't it? And as you walk, or you move your arms. Or
as
something.
You move, yeah, and it like adjusts the lights above you and stuff to.
Yeah, that's really cool. So there's some really fun sections where you are causing a bit of mayhem, but I think it's fun.
I feel like the museum there is a great excuse to just show off some random stuff to do in VR, just to play around with it more than anything. So I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah, I think. the way that they've done this game, I think, is just a perfect use of VR.
Yeah, basically.
And the move controllers, because
they got the most out of it.
Yeah, I think there's some things that happened in that game, and I'll go into that when we'll talk about the set pieces. But I think you think, nah, this isn't possible. And I think, I know we briefly talked about the bit in the demolition block when there's that crane that just pokes through
Comes
the building,
out of nowhere,
and then you've got to get into this shipment container. Because I think you panic and you're like, shit, what do I do? What do I do? It's not like grab now.
Yeah.
It's like you've just got to try and time that grab perfectly.
Yeah.
As you go on, you've got to get into sort of Tony's operation with like this shipment section or something. You've got to get into this yard, haven't you?
Yeah, isn't that the section where you go to the airfield?
I think so. So a little bit before that, where I'm trying to think, Ryan gets captured, but I can't think where he gets captured.
No, after the airfield bit, I think.
Okay, I won't say that
because you've got like the section in the airfield, I think, and then you've got the section where you go to Tony's apartment, and I think you get captured, and then after that bit is when you go to Tony's apartment, I think.
Right.
And then after that is the chase, and then to the airfield, and then on the plane sort of thing. I think that's how it went. Anyway, it's a bit patchy for me because I only played.
I played
little
this a
bits
very
of
long time ago.
The second part because my head was melting.
I think as well because there's some similar looking places.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, is that there? Is that there?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one of the first. Wow, they're all big when they're the set pieces, but when you're sort of trying to infiltrate with Deacon, you basically go to this place the day before and you pretend to be an electrician, so you've got to basically fuck up the electrics to sort of hack it and get in.
Yeah.
Deacon sorts it out and he's like, right, we've only got a very small window to get in while it's quiet and sort of blacked out. So, all the lights have gone off and whatever. Get in and, get what we need or whatever. So you then you're stood on this crane, aren't you?
Yeah, on the south side of the Thames.
And there's only one option for you to do.
Yeah.
Is to strafe and go straight ahead. So basically, Ryan will run.
Yeah.
And then you just jump off this crane.
Yeah, which is terrifying because then you're just falling. And because of, again, I mentioned it in one of our VR things about how VR does scale very well and makes you feel like you are in the places that you are standing in.
Mm-hmm.
But you're on the top of this crane, and if you look to your left, you've got Tower Bridge and the Shard and the Gherkin opposite you. And if you look to your right, you can see like Canary Wharf and all the skyscrapers there. And yeah, you just basically have to parachute your way across the Thames. And as you do that, the theme tune kicks in, and it's like, oh my God, I feel just like a secret agent.
It's so cool. And then obviously you've got to sort of gun your way through this section.
This tower.
I think the next, because then you have another one where you break through. There's another big shootout and you're through windows or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I think the next, there's like two that stand out. So basically, you find Michelle.
Yeah.
And then...
Is that where you get away in the car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got this is the thing, this is the pinnacle at the end, right? So you get in Michelle's car, you're gunning everyone down. You're filling her in unfortunately what's happened to...
Someone.
We don't want to say who, because, we want you to play the game. And
even though we talked about other spoilers, that one's probably more like
this is
a shock.
Yeah, this is a shocking one, so I don't really want to... I want to save that. So yeah, you driving. And again, I know we're spoiling things in like set pieces, but I'm telling you now,
it's
and
not
you'll
the same
agree
as
with me, it's not the
experience it.
same as experiencing it. So I can say, yeah, you jump out of this and you do that. Until you're doing it, it's two completely different things of like watching someone play it and doing it yourself.
Yeah.
So when I say we're spoiling it, I suppose we're spoiling it in telling you what you've got to do, but it's nothing to actually feeling like you're doing it.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, I mean, it's obviously not the same, but it's like people saying skydiving's really good. But you're not going to know until you've experienced it. I know, like, VR... I
mean, I have now.
Well, it's obviously nowhere near the same, but it's kind of in that, like...
It's a safe way. It's a safe way to do it. So, yeah, so you end up going to the airfield. Now, that's it, because you're trying to get into a hangar, and then you realise that Tony's gone on his private jet.
Well, it's like a massive 747, huge, giant plane.
It's Tony Sharp. It's just what he wants.
Yeah. And you're driving on the runway in the airport.
Yeah, so you're driving underneath, and then... Michelle's like, what are you doing? You can't you can't get into there. And Ryan's just like, drive! And he basically launches himself onto a ladder by one of the wheels as it's taking off.
It goes up into the landing gear, and then it's very, very Uncharted free.
Yeah.
Where you jump into the landing gear, and as you're like taking off, you can just look down and you see like everything, and then all the wheel like closes up behind you. That's just so mad. When you're driving, she's driving the car underneath the plane.
So fast. You feel like
and the plane is huge in VR.
And I think when you've got headphones on as well, you can hear
all the little sound
all
bits.
the sounds from the plane.
Like the actors' reactions in that bit as well, when they're like, closer.
Yeah, the audio and sound design in this game is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're in the plane, and then Carson tells you that, Ryan, there's a bomb on the plane. Fuck.
Yeah.
And this is the bit that I didn't understand, and
I tried to look it up, and I couldn't really figure it out.
No,
but yeah,
it's not really explained.
We'll go there.
So there's a lot of ways you can play the end of this. So you go through, and then you get into Tony's sort of like seating area, and Tony's almost sat there like he knows that you were coming.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, like, before you go, there's a parachute on the side which you pick up.
Yeah.
So that also makes me think, well, does he know that you're coming to sort of get him, sort of thing? So there's 3 ways that you can play this, and I think we've all played them in a different way.
Yeah.
So Tony will sit there, and if you leave it, he will chat to you about a childhood story. Now, the story basically says that when he was younger, he got into a fight with this lad called Sean down the street, this Irish lad.
You battered him.
Who battered him. And Tony's mom said, go round there and tell him, knock him up and tell him you want to fight him again.
Yeah.
So Tony goes round, and his big brother said he's not going to fight you, he doesn't want to fight you again. So...
And that's when he's like, tell him I want to fucking fight him.
Tell him I want to fucking fight him now!
Yeah.
I love
his accent's
the
well
actors
good.
in this are so good, and it's like... You know, that's the thing as well. Like, when they're British actors, you know that they are, and it's like proper Cockney. It's really good.
Yeah.
So he's telling him, like, I want to fucking fight, and the brothers doesn't want to. So he was like, well, it's going to go either one of 2 ways. He doesn't want to fight, or I'm going to get the shit kicked out of him by his big brothers. But he didn't. So he then says he got left alone.
Yeah.
Like, Tony was never bothered again.
Because they thought he was mental.
Yeah. So I think the moral of this story is that I think Tony wanted to sort of put the frighteners on the Marx brothers, well, the Marx family.
Yeah.
Hoping that they wouldn't bite back.
Yeah.
And I think that because they did, it was literally a fight to the death situation.
Yeah, they shot them in the foot. Shot themselves in the foot, sorry. Kind of.
Yeah, so I think the reason why Tony is the way... Obviously, like, Ryan killed Keach, which is Tony's little brother. So I think that's why he tells that story. I think a lot of it is for you to take away what you think, but we sort of had a chat about it the other night, and I think that's what I feel that was that story, what the point of that story was.
Well, I feel like Tony's got some kind of... I don't know what the word is. Some sort of... I really can't think what the thing would be to explain it. He knew when he was beaten, I think. Because once you get onto the plane, he doesn't do anything to resist. He's like, well, you're the one wearing the fucking parachute.
Yeah, so I think he knows... I don't know whether he's rigged it himself or he knows that he's going to die.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, he doesn't try to escape or anything. He's like sat in this seat and he just lets it happen. So basically the plane blows up and then you're jumping out of another plane, but a burning plane, and you see like the jets fly past you and a wing come past you.
It starts to make me think though, because he was working with that other company, that there's like this mysterious company that's much bigger than all of them, that's lurking in the background throughout all of this. And to me, it almost seems like Tony's almost being either betrayed by them or like they're the one who put the bomb there.
Yeah, so I think Tony...
And they're trying to off him now as well.
Yeah, so I think Tony knows that his time was up.
Because it almost feels like he wasn't the real villain at that point. It feels more like someone else was pulling the strings on him. But
then at the same time, this is what makes me question... Because to me, that's a good theory, right?
Yeah.
So that's what made me think maybe Tony's put the parachute there because he's like... Ryan will always land on his feet. Ryan will always get out of it. I cannot beat Ryan. Maybe that's then would be potentially the setup for the next game if they do one, which I really hope everybody there does. Please, London Studio.
Yeah,
love you.
Please do.
Please do. We'll do some final thoughts, Jerry Spring style at the end. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I think maybe that would be the setup for if they were to do a sequel, because then it's like Tony's always known Ryan's going to get away. Tony knows that he's going to be beaten, because I think in that world, and since obviously the dad's gone, everything's changed. Like his whole outfit's changed.
Yeah.
And, you know, the operation has changed since they've taken everything. They've regained the power, basically.
Yeah.
Because I don't know whether it was a case of like they were going to try and swindle Anna out of something, or I don't know. The lads have definitely taken it on in their own hands. So I think Tony was like, "I'm up against a wall here now. I know I'm not gonna win.
It seems to imply
I am now Sean
that...
almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am that other kid who doesn't want to fight me anymore.
Yeah. It seems to imply almost that Tony's on your side at the end, because he's like, you won't be beaten. You know,
finish what I can't finish.
Basically, yeah, that's sort of how it seemed to be.
I think that's the thing, because obviously I've tried to find an answer, you've tried to find an answer.
There's nothing.
We both have, and we can't find.
It just tells you it in really blank words, and it's like, yeah, I get
it just
that
literally
happened,
says
but...
Tony tells a story about his childhood. But to me, it's like it's got to be a metaphor for something, and that's maybe I'm just like a conspiracy theorist. Well,
there's got to be some reason for it. But either way,
that's my takeaway of it.
This turns out to be another major set piece, because the bomb goes off and it blows a hole in the floor in the room you're in, and then like all the plane gets ripped apart, and it's like you get chucked out the plane, and then as you're chucked out the plane, the wings start flying off and the engines fly at you, and then it all explodes, and then you get a nice song at the end, which I can't remember what it is, but I know. Yeah,
it's pretty well known song. It's like it's that end of we've come to this massive crescendo. It's you know, it's draining off now.
It's quite sombre.
And you're floating over again. You're back over the Thames again.
Kind of, yeah. You're right up above London, and there's like all this fire
again on this parachute. There's so much, and it's like you've come so far, and this story's coming to a close, sort of thing. But I want to just say before we kind of go into the kind of the epilogue, I would say.
Yeah.
With Tony, there's like different ways you can do it. Because I went in because I was pissed off, and again, I think because I'd taken on Ryan's problems, because if I'm immersed, I'm really in it. Like I'm when they killed Anna, like my mom, I was like, you've killed my mom. Like I was fuming, weren't I? So I was like, right, I'm fucking gonna kill everyone now. I don't even care. And this is fake. I'm not like this, you know. Don't think I'm a psychopath.
Oh well.
No, thanks very much. But yeah, so I went in and I just shot Tony in the head, and then the plane blew up.
Yeah, then the plane just goes down anyway.
And then I was like, shit, was I supposed to wait for something else? And then the second time, I listened to the whole story and I thought, maybe the plane won't blow up, because because I shot it, that's why it was like a reaction or something. I don't know. I'm not really au fait with, you know, bombs and the like.
Yeah.
But you do get a trophy if you shoot Tony in the balls.
Yeah.
So...
as you do.
Yeah, and then obviously, whatever happens, you can wait, shoot him, whatever, the plane will always blow up.
I've seen there's 2 other versions as well, and I've not seen them actually, but I've seen people write the alternate things. If you shoot him in
the end,
yeah, if you shoot him in the leg, he's like, "Oh, is that what you fucking got?" And then I think it blows up anyway. And if you shoot the glass next to him, he's like, "Your aim's a bit shit," or something like that. So it mocks your aiming basically, and then again it will just blow up, I think.
Yeah.
But it's like those little things as well. It's cool because it makes you think. There's some games where no matter what you do, that'd be a scripted one. You've got
event,
nothing
else to explore,
but because it's VR and you can sort of just mess around, it's like, yeah, do that and we'll reward you with something different.
So then in the epilogue you get to... Oh yeah, that's what we need to say as well, I totally forgot. Amanda, or Kayla Kincaid.
The lady that killed your mum.
Yeah, so basically she comes on a bike, kills Anna, and then just zooms off. So she's working with Tony at this point. But then we find out at the end that was she ex-CIA or something?
Yeah, and she went and worked for this weird shadow organisation that's been looming throughout the story. Yeah,
so that's sort of an overarching...
Because she ends up betraying Tony as well at some point.
Well, yeah, because when you're captured...
she just lets you live.
It's really fucking weird. She gets all in your face and gives you this speech.
Yeah.
And then she starts cutting... She just like slash the side of her face or slash her arm.
I think it's to make it look like there's been a struggle and that he got away legitimately, and she did try to stop him.
Yeah, so she lets Ryan sort of get away, and obviously it was like, wow, you never understood.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the epilogue you sort of have a chat with Michelle, and she's taken over the business now. And then you go and visit Colin Salmon.
Yep.
On the balcony overlooking London, which is a great
that nice
moment.
pretty picture
it's
again.
Like really nice to see. They have a chat, and then that's the end of that.
And they basically say they're going to go after this organisation.
Yeah, so it leaves the game wide open for a sequel.
Yeah. I suppose they just wanted to see how it'd do, whether they'll do another one or not.
What's your... Let's just talk about the plot and in initial sort of finishing thoughts. What did you, as a whole, mostly just story, gameplay and all that, what was your initial kind of takeaways from that experience?
It's definitely one of the best VR games, easily. I think it's annoying because of the motion sickness thing. It did set me back a little bit, and it took me out of some of the experience in places.
Yeah.
But that was when I think it was partly my own fault for playing it too long. I should have taken more breaks. But then when you're in like a certain set piece that lasts longer than quarter an hour or 20 minutes, you just carry on playing it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's. I feel like, because I played on it for hours at a time.
Go for it.
And I feel like it's a hard game to want to put down. Like, even if you do feel a bit shit, you're like, oh god, I just want to keep playing it because it's so immersive and really entertaining to play.
I thought the story was really good. It's definitely intrigued me as to where it would go next. So I think that says a lot about the story that was at play here. I think because the characters are portrayed, yeah, like really, really well, and because they're like proper,
they're really fleshed out characters. I feel
I feel like that as well, because it feels like a film story. It feels like that could have been a movie. I think that's why it becomes off so much more like compelling, and you get so much more into it
because you're front seat in it.
Yeah, I don't know if also the fact that it's like a London-based story as well, rather than like a really over-the-top American action film, that it feels a bit more.
It was quite
real.
Gritty.
Yeah, it definitely
as well.
was. I mean, it gets quite dark at points, but I like that there's a lot of humour in it as well.
Oh yeah,
because
you need that relief, I think.
Yeah. So.
But I also liked as well. Obviously, we've said that it's set in London. It's a bit of a sort of a love letter, an ode to it. But I like the fact that it's not all sort of the glitz and the glamour that I think a lot of people coming outside thinking of London as this very typical, oh, that's London, everyone lives in London.
Yeah.
Look, do you see what I mean? Like, everyone's like, oh, it's all Bond Street, Oxford Street. You're going in these parts that aren't, you're that's the thing, you're not going into these, like, you're not in like big department stores or posh designer things or walking around like that. You're in these like derelict blocks or in yards, as in like there's like skips everywhere or this or that. It's not this glam thing, and I think that was refreshing to sort of see London painted a bit more realistically.
Yeah.
Rather than that place in England that everyone
that we're
lives.
not all Sherlock Holmes smoking a pipe with
and
bad
a monocle.
Yellow teeth and saying "Pip, Pip, old boy."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's either not like we're like, oh, do you want a cup of tea?
It feels very much like, weirdly, and obviously weirdly, the theme that it sets in London, you get that feeling when you get into London. Like when I get into St Pancras and start walking around the streets of London, it feels like that in the game. I don't know if that's just because for me they've like all the skyline stuff and all the buildings. It makes me feel like I'm there because it's done right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when I'm walking around, when I was on the crane on like up above the Thames, looking over like Tower Bridge and that, a few years ago I went to London and got some like nighttime pictures, and it felt exactly like that. If the temperature in the room was like cool, it would be like, wow, I'm just there.
Yeah.
Actually in London.
I think as well, like for people who potentially are from elsewhere in the world, I feel like that would be, if you've never been to London, that's probably the truest depiction in a game.
I suppose so, yeah.
For like the parts that you play, obviously, I'm not saying that all of London is like that, not at all, but, it's not the...
It's probably the most modern
Buckingham
version.
Palace.
It's the most modern version of what London is kind of now, obviously displayed in this fictional
realm.
Gangster vision. I'm not saying that London's covered in, mob crime people.
No, but then, it's like anything you play, like, there are these... Nobody knows what goes on.
Oh, yeah, no. Obviously not, but
yeah, and obviously, like I said, I'm not saying that all of London looks exactly like this game. Because obviously there's different boroughs and there's different sections and all of that. I just think it's been done extremely well.
Yeah.
And like I said, it seems just a big part of the game, as Ryan, as Michelle, as anybody, as Carson, So
I
that
feel
was
like
really interesting to sort of see that.
for me, despite living near London, I'm still like I would be basically a tourist to London, so I don't know how London
Oh,
feels in
yeah.
the sense of living and
Living
working
there.
in it. Really, obviously, I've worked in it recently, but so for people who live and work in London, it might be like, nah, it doesn't really feel like that. But for me, when I go there as a tourist, that's how
Yeah, I suppose.
I'm like,
Yeah,
wow, big city.
I should have prefaced it with that. Really.
So I think that's for me, that's the feeling I get from this, because I feel like there is something just big about London.
Yeah, you're right.
When you get
Actually,
up on top of like the Shard or something, it's just massive and huge, and it does feel like just you're on a movie set. I mean, most cities do, really.
yeah, I think that's the thing, because I live just out in the countryside. Like I said, I should have probably said that beforehand. Like, famously, we don't live in London,
No,
so it's kind of like when I go there and I see these things, I'm like, oh yeah, that's
it's our
like
take
that.
of
It's our
London,
take
yeah.
of it, yeah. Because obviously I've never been everywhere in London because it's bloody huge.
Indeed.
But yeah, I think as well, just to sort of touch on replayability, because I think sometimes you have these games and you're like, okay, it's done now. Whereas I sort of explored a bit more of that last night.
Oh yeah.
So you have got a DJ booth, which is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It's a shame though, because if they'd have done it, I wish they'd have had a crowd in there.
Yeah, you're just there on your own.
Yeah, but you put in like these USBs and then you can mix music in the game. You can blow your whistle.
Yeah.
You can obviously use your hand
horns.
gestures and yeah, the
Yeah.
and you can like, add lights, lasers, and fog and sound effects and all of that. So that's really fun to do, and the music's really good. So I was having a little rave in there.
Yep.
There's also sort of like time attack modes that you can unlock, sort of in shooting galleries, which you can sort of move through and whatever. They do get progressively harder.
Yeah.
As it goes on, and then you've got other modes you can do with different types of weapons. Then you do have like a dance rhythm game where you have 4 songs. So one of them is Boo, Sticky Bite, and Miss Dynamite, and you'll be on like top of a crane in a skyline in the day. So you have a 9mm gun in each hand.
Yeah.
And you'll be shooting records to the beat. And that's really fun. That was like a cool feature that I didn't really know was a thing.
Well, I think it's all been added quite recently.
Oh, okay.
Because I saw someone wrote an article like 5 reasons why you should revisit Blood and Truth now, essentially, because of those extra bits have added to it. And I think New Game Plus was part of that as well.
Yeah, New Game Plus, I haven't done that yet, so I don't know what that would unlock. But I think just anyway, there's so many different. Obviously, there's a linear path and a linear story, but you could play these in different ways, because you don't know how. Just even with that Tony conversation, you can let him speak, you can kill him, you can do whatever.
Yeah.
So now if I play it again, I'm like, oh well, can I open that? Because that's the thing. There's so many things to explore. You think that you might not be able to do, which you absolutely can.
Yeah, you
And I
can
think that's
slightly
really fun.
take different routes through levels, I think, to some extent. Not loads, but you can kind of go through like a different room.
There's ways, like say if you are at a door, you can either strafe left or strafe right. So there might be unlockables that you find in a drawer, or
Yeah,
more targets that you might not have had access to.
little things to explore.
Yeah, and then obviously you go to the safe house every now and again, which we did forget to mention, which is Ryan and Nick's sort of den.
Yeah.
So that's where you can view your collectibles. You can have a quick game of like paper toss with a bin. There's like a little basketball hoop on the bin.
There's like a cigar in there and that you can smoke.
Yeah, you can crack into a safe and get into that. You can play the radio, which
Yeah.
again has more tracks on there. And then you go downstairs into the armoury. So you can keep choosing your guns. And then as you progress, you can unlock mods for your weapons. So like sights, grips and that,
different
and
spray
that sort of
paints and
thing.
stuff.
Yeah, spray paints. Then you pick up your ammo. Then you can leave the safe house and go to the next point. So I think after every chapter,
You can visit.
you pretty
the
much visit
safe
there.
house, yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I would love a sequel,
definitely. Yeah, it'd be really good.
because I think as well the length of this game, it felt like a lot longer
Yeah,
than it actually was. I can't think, what was it, about 7 hours?
probably. Yeah.
About that, which I think is amazing for a VR game.
Yeah, definitely. That's the first real full VR game that was made for VR. Because
For
I know
VR,
like
yeah.
Skyrim and Minecraft have been made into VR as well. So there's like, those games. But I feel like this is.
Obviously, you have Resi 7,
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. That's a
but I
good
think
point.
that was its own game before that anyway. They
Kind
just
of.
ported it.
They
Well,
kind of.
that's an easy task, obviously, but
Yeah, no, they kind of put it on there as well. Yeah.
but yeah, it's just madness. So I honest to God, what would your rating out of 10 be? Honestly,
I think about an 8.
Okay.
I think I've got on knock points because I couldn't enjoy it fully enough. But again, this is very personal to me. It is not a thing against the game.
No, because that's not their fault.
No, exactly. It's not at all. And again, I can't rate the story and all that sort of stuff highly enough. And the fact that I'd want to do more big set pieces like they've got here, I'd love to go for all that stuff again. But yeah, just some of the shooting stuff, I can't. Even with like breaks and stuff, I don't know. I've got like progressively worse, I think. Like immediately when I put it on, and I'm like strafing left to right, particularly when you stop, I feel like it's quite sudden and it just makes me like, oh god, and it just throws me out a little bit. So, but yeah, I don't want to, I don't like to rate things really, really high, but I think that's respectable.
Okay.
What's yours? Yours is going to be, I don't know.
11 out of 10.
Oh, okay. 11 out of 10.
Honest to God, it is one of the best games I've ever played, and one that
I mean, you were in VR for ages when you played it.
I was in there hours.
Yeah.
I can't... There's not really anything that I can really say really poorly about it.
I can't say there's anything that it was just the motion sickness for me. That was like, I didn't enjoy that, obviously. I don't think anyone would.
No.
But everything else, yeah. I loved all the shooting, all the moving around, the story that was there, all the big action parts you could do.
I went in with little expectation, not because I thought I was going to be disappointed, not at all, but I think because I love the London Heist and I didn't really want to know anything about Blood and Truth because I just wanted to get in and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was sort of in store for me, and yeah, it just blew the roof off for me. And every sort of, when you're like, fucking hell, I can't believe I've just done that, even though obviously it's not you and you sat in a room, but you don't think that they can they keep topping it as the game goes on. So you see that crane section, you're jumping out of a building and you're grabbing onto a shipment container.
Yeah.
And scrambling through vents, or like gunning this person, that person, hacking this, getting in this safe, and you're like, fucking hell, this is so cool.
Escaping from big explosions.
Then comes the more car chases, then comes parachuting over the Thames, then comes the, going under the plane and getting in that, and you think, shit me, how is this possible? Because you feel like you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could ask for much more. I just want another one.
Yeah. I don't want to ask for much, just a whole other game.
Just a whole new game, thank you everyone. But yeah, London Studios.
Smashing it, so
thank you.
Yep. We can click as well.
So yeah, I'll probably ramble on about the same things over and over again.
Oh, that's what I do all the time, so don't worry about it.
So sorry about that. But yeah, it was. I knew it was going to be a bit of a longer one. I thought it was going to be longer than this, I won't lie.
Yeah.
But I think, in my head, because I'd made so many notes about the plot and the story, I didn't want to do what we've done in past podcasts when we've sort of just said the whole plot.
Yeah, no, that's not our thing.
No, I mean, I think I didn't intend, or we didn't intend at the start of our podcast to do that. I think it just happened.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to do that again. So I really, really encourage people who have a VR or are thinking about getting one to hopefully...
This is one that is a must-have on VR.
Invest or have a go on someone's that you love and who you can at this current time.
Yeah.
Borrow. But then, yeah, I mean, I think I've saved... I'm quite proud of actually, because obviously not going out, I don't really go out that much anyway, but I've saved a bit more money, so now I'm like, do I just buy myself one? Just play this in my house? I would never do anything though, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've got another VR game that we purchased yesterday.
Yes.
The Room. Not that The Room.
Yeah, not the...
No, not The Room with Tommy Wiseau.
No.
If only. Oh God, imagine that in VR.
That'd be phenomenal, not going to lie.
No, but imagine what you'd have to do. You'd probably have to have sex with him in
No.
You are my rose.
No.
Okay, no, I actually don't want to think about that. It's like, it was an not escape room, it was a hidden object game.
Kind of, yeah.
Puzzle game sort of thing. So they've done one for VR.
Yeah.
So I think we should talk about that on a future one.
Yeah, sure.
So I kind of want to play that this afternoon. We'll see. But yeah, thank you so much for listening as always.
Yes, thank you very much.
Definitely check it out.
You must.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what London Studios do next.
Yeah, likewise.
So I'm going to go and stalk their Twitter account.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, bye.
Bye.